Hey guys, it's Sarah and I am here with my December wrap up, my last wrap up of 2016. December was a really great reading month for me, which was really surprising because December is always the busiest time of the year, and I did not think I was going to have quite as much time as I normally do to read, but I actually really did. I made it a priority and I made sure that I made time to sit down every day and read. So I ended up reading 6 books, and of all 6 of those were 4 or 5 star reads for me. So I had a really, really good reading month. So I started out this month reading a review book that I received from the author, and that author is Carrie Butler, and I read the book As We Know It. And I do have a separate review video for this, so I will go ahead and link it down below if you want to see all of my in-depth thoughts about the book. But I absolutely loved it. I gave it 5 stars, and this book follows a natural disaster set in the Pacific Northwest during a very difficult time for our main character, and you kind of see her not only dealing with issues in her life, but she's also dealing with this natural disaster that happens, and she finds herself teaming up with an unlikely ally. This book was fantastic. It had a lot of adventure in it, a lot of humor, which I really enjoyed. I found myself laughing out loud quite a bit. But again, if you want to see more of my thoughts on it, I will leave a link to the review video down below. The second book that I read is Behind Closed Doors by B.A. Paris, and we read this for our book club this month, and this one was another 5-star read for me. It was really, really good. And this one really shocked me because I went into it pretty blind. I didn't know what it was going to be about. I didn't know the premise of it. I wasn't quite sure. The only blurb I saw was a perfect marriage or a perfect lie. So I went into it only hearing that. So this book follows a married couple, but everything is not as it seems. They put on a very good front for all of their friends and family, but behind closed doors, yeah, see? It's an entirely different story. I don't want to give anything at all away because I think that would take away the shock value of it. But if you do like psychological thrillers, this is definitely one to pick up. And then the next book I read is a book that I actually started last month, and I was buddy reading it with Whitney, and I went ahead and finished it this month, and that is A Tree Grows in Brooklyn by Betty Smith. And this one was good. I gave it a 4 stars. It didn't blow me away the way that I was expecting it to based on what other people have told me about it. A lot of people said this is their favorite book of all time, or it was their favorite growing up. And I could see that. It didn't completely captivate me though. It took me a little while to get through it. It's a little bit of a slower read for me, but the story is really good. This is a coming of age story about a young girl growing up in Brooklyn in the 1920s and kind of how hard it was back then. And a lot of things were put into perspective with this one, most definitely, because you sit there and you read it and you see them saving pennies, to be able to buy food. And today, people throw pennies away because they think they're irrelevant. So it was really eye-opening for that aspect, just based on what was happening in this time period and how people were having to really scrap and save every single little thing so that they could survive. Even in this family, they weren't poor, but they had to save every single thing that they possibly could in order to get by. And it was just definitely eye-opening to see the differences between then and now. But I really did enjoy it. I liked the way that the story went, and I really liked our main character, Franny. So it was good. I gave it a 4 stars. And then I finally started the Mortal Instruments, you guys. I read City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. This is book 1 in her Mortal Instruments series, which is a part of her Shadowhunters world. This is an urban fantasy, if you don't know. If you don't know, I'd be really surprised. They are very, very popular, but I'm finally picking it up and reading it. This was a reread for me. I did read this a couple of years ago, right before the movie came out. The movie's terrible, but I read it and then we went and saw the movie. So I wanted to reread it again because I really needed to refresh my memory about what happens in the first book before I started the rest of the series. And I'm really glad I did, because about a third of the way into it, we were introduced to a character that I completely forgot about, and he was pretty big in this one. It was Hodge, in case anyone who has read this was wondering who I'm talking about. I completely forgot about Hodge. He was really important in this book. So I really, really enjoyed this one. I did give it 4 stars. It wasn't quite 5 stars for me. I don't really know why, though. I can't really pinpoint why I didn't give it a 5 stars, but I finished it and I was like, okay, 4. Like, that was a solid 4 for me. But I really did enjoy it, and I liked the amount of action that was in here. I really like all the characters so far. And yeah, I'm excited to be getting into this. So finally I started it. After that, I went ahead and read a review book that was sent to me by the publisher, and that is Leopard at the Door. This is written by Jennifer McVeigh, and this was sent to me by Putnam. And this is going to have a review video up on my channel on January 3rd, which is the release date, so that's going to be coming up here in a few days. And this book is a historical fiction which is set in Africa in the 1950s, and it follows a young girl of a farmer who is British, because this was also taken place when Britain occupied Kenya. I'm hoping that makes sense. It was a British occupied Kenya, which is when this took place. So it follows the story of a young girl of a farmer. They're living in Kenya. She was sent to go to boarding school in England for most of her life, but then she went back to live with her dad on the farm. But when she goes back, so much is different. It's not the same. The farm that she remembers, there's a new person in her dad's life, and just a lot of things are changing. And along with that, you are dealing with political turmoil in the country and in the area that they're living in. So that was really scary because it was very violent. And I really, really enjoyed this book. I was really surprised that I enjoyed it so much. It's not something I would normally pick up. So I'm really glad that I accepted it when they contacted me about reviewing it, because it really captivated me. I read it fairly quickly and I didn't want to put it down. I wanted to know what was happening. The writing was beautiful. It was very descriptive. I could really feel myself in Kenya, even though I've never been there before, but I could easily imagine the scenery that she was describing. I really loved the main character, and she really wrote some good terrible side characters as well. So she made me hate the people that I was supposed to hate, and she did that really well. And I just really, really enjoyed this one. I ended up giving this one a 4.5 stars. It was not quite 5 stars, but 4 stars seems too low, so I put it right in the middle there. I really wish that Goodreads would have half stars officially so I could do that. But I really, really enjoyed this one, and I will have a full review up with some more about what the story is and more details about that, but that will be coming up here in a couple days. And the last book that I read in the month of December is City of Ashes by Cassandra Clare. So this is book 2 in the Mortal Instruments series, and I really enjoyed this one as well. This one was another 4 stars for me. This one was a little bit slower starting out with. There wasn't a ton of action towards the beginning of the story, but almost halfway through, something really big happens to one of my favorite characters, Simon, and that was huge. So that is when I really perked up and I was like, and towards the end, there was a lot of really good action in this one as well. And I ended up reading a little bit less than half of it in one sitting. So I really, really enjoyed this one too. And I really like where the story is going. The only thing about this one that really made me not give it a 5 stars is, number one, it was a little bit slower in the beginning, but number two, Clary really bothered me in this one. She was very reckless, and I found she was running towards danger without thinking, and it kind of drove me nuts a little bit. So like the 4th or 5th time she did that, I was just like, get in, stay in the car. Stay in the car, Clary. It's like Carl from Walking Dead. Like, stay in the house, Carl. Like, who knows where Carl is? That was Clary for me in this one. She kind of drove me nuts. I wish she had honed it in a little bit and stopped literally just running towards death. But again, it was a solid 4. It was really good. Lots of really good action, and I really enjoyed it. All right, guys, that's what I read in the month of December. Please leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you guys read in the month of December. Let me know if you read any of the books that I have and what you thought about them. And I will be back again tomorrow with my January TBR. January, I'm so excited for 2017 to start, and I think 2017 is going to be a really good year. Hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.